Activate.
Welcome everybody to USL Live, Season 26, the Week 1 recap edition and Week 2 preview. My name's Eric and I'll be your host this evening. Joining me on tonight's panel will be Fausto.
Hello, hello.
Easoe.
Yo.
Angelus.
Yo, yo.
And Bax.
What up?
What's going on, guys? Before we get into discussing Week 1 results and Week 2 predictions, I wanted to talk about a kind of ongoing issue we've had since we've come back since Season 20, and that's the server lag. I know on Sunday we realized that just about everybody had high packet loss, and even in the SBs this week, we've seen a lot of desyncing happening where people are just straight up disappearing, or people are just straight up tanks. They take no damage whatsoever. And one of the people that obviously listened to USL Live wanted me to bring to light what kind of Joven said as an explanation as to what's going on. And just to give kind of like the TLDR of it, the East Coast is having more network outages than usual, and we are working towards migrating to US Central in the near future to allow for better overall network stability. And unfortunately, the band-aid for this is to use a VPN so that we're not desyncing or disconnecting. And I don't know about you guys, but not many people are going to want to take this extra step just to play Infantry. And what if only half the people take this step and the other half don't, and in a match, you just have people being tanks and just taking no damage or ignoring straight up damage whatsoever. I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on this? Because it's pretty impactful to the game state as it is. Fausto, start with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. I mean, in this game that we've played for decades now, I'm not too sure what the reasoning is behind the lag. I mean, aside from what you explained from Joven, I know there's been players in the community, including myself, that have offered to help with the financial cost of the servers, relocating it, changing it out, more centralized in the United States. But as of right now, based off what you kind of mentioned and what the message being relayed is, it's out of our hands and we gotta wait. But I'm not too sure why we have to wait. We're the end user at the end of the day, but it definitely does affect the gameplay as it is in a very competitive season, I would say. Uh, this goes for SK as well as CTF. It's unfortunate that people, including myself, get to see this lag. I mean, I log in with pluses of 4 to 5%, and fellows, squaddies are at 6-7%. So it definitely makes it, it's visible when you look back at the USL Live playback. You can see people visually lagging, and it's unfortunate because it does hinder the gameplay.
Yeah, and you brought up a good point too. It wasn't much, but like when Joven was advertising, hey, anybody want to donate? I tossed a few bucks in to help donate, but I also know that when Chris was getting a huge influx of donations on the site, he offered to say, hey, I've got X amount extra that I don't need to use. We can put it towards the server, and Joven kind of brushed it off. So I don't know what happened there. I don't know if just Joven doesn't want to interact with Chris or whatever the case may be. I just know that before Season 20, when Miz was hosting the servers, we never had these issues, right? And that's not a shot at Joven. It's just I know that Windows updates have happened, and that alone has messed with people's frame, that people have to go into the INI file to cap their frame so that they're not getting screen tearing anymore, too. So there's two major issues that are happening with the game that could very well impact, it could very well be a cause for postponing games because of just terrible lag, and that would just prolong the season. But I digress. Easoe, go ahead.
Yeah, it actually almost affected me week one. I was having some frame issues that I actually have never seen before. It got to the point where I actually thought I was going to have to just spec and not play. At the end of the day, I just think it's something that needs to be fixed, whether it's financial, whatever the problem is, it just has to be resolved, honestly, because we can't have that happening.
Yeah, Angelus?
Yeah, like in the Sunday games, I didn't really notice it, but we've been SPing every night, and I started to notice it Monday, and then it seemed really bad last night. For us, it's just kind of funny moments where we're having this big battle, and our meds are in the middle of us, and suddenly they just disappear for 5 seconds. And we're yelling like, "Oh, I couldn't get a heal, you had energy." And the med's nowhere. Then he reappears, and yeah, it's obviously harmful to the gameplay, but also as an IT nerd, I understand there's certain things that are just out of our control. So if you're waiting on a server host to repair something, you can only do so much. We're just gonna keep rolling with it.
Yeah, that's fair. Bax, you got any opinion on it?
I mean, yeah, I always used to have like 0% lag or whatever, but I always have like 4% now, 2%. But I don't really notice much tanking. Just like last night, what I just said, just people disappearing. But I don't see it too bad. But maybe that's because I think I'm closest to the server. That's probably why. But I mean, hopefully they fix it soon. I mean, they said they're working on it. Hopefully that's true.
Yeah, that's fair. And I know, especially because I died a lot this last week, I noticed that my respawn time, like my body would appear in the DS like I was dead still for an extra 3 seconds, and I'm just sitting there waiting to actually move. And I know Havoc had mentioned that he had to pre-heal even earlier to try and guess when people would be taking damage so that he could get a heal off during the game. And again, we can't have that, but it is being worked on. MP just said Joven Mode and Exodus are actively discussing this right now to try and get a fix implemented ASAP. But again, like Angelus said, this is IT. This is definitely a server issue. It's not like Joven or the client itself. It's specifically the host that we got to kind of work around and try and deal with. But that's enough of that. Let's go right into week one. The first match of that night was Cocaine versus Microdata, with Cocaine winning 37-29. MVP being the Mountain. Go ahead, Fausto.
I'll give a couple of thoughts. I didn't actually get to watch the match and while that happened live. Based off the score alone and what I got from the community was that Microdata played very methodical, very slow, but very effective. It's good to see that these SK veterans such as Yosh, and I'll throw Albert in there as well because he had tank, are really stepping up to help these CTFPL buddies of ours really find their footing in our zone. So I'm excited to see what Macrodata does in the season. I'm still very shocked at how the closest score was, given the rank and skill level on Cocaine. So I'd like to see a continued competitive streak going for Macrodata as the weeks progress. But that's all I'm going to say on this match, and I didn't actually watch it.
Okay. Easoe?
Yeah, I think I'll be the first to say we definitely underestimated macro data. I think you could tell by the results of that match that we definitely we probably didn't play our ideal lineup, but we did play what we thought should be enough to probably warrant a bigger win, honestly, than what was the end result. But I was definitely impressed with a few players specifically, like Fausto had mentioned. Albert had a great game. Didn't show like any signs of rust at all. Bonds played really well as medic. I saw him hit a lot of bio darts. Was definitely keeping people alive. And then also Exodus at Ripper. I remember seeing a few times when I was watching the match. He was putting on some really good streams, keeping Cocaine back from pushing and pretty much doing anything. So yeah, it was pretty impressive to see, and I hope it kind of carries on to the next week.
All right, fair enough. Angelus, as one of the people that played in the match, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, going into the match, I mentioned on the cast last week, I wasn't super confident in our first game ever. We had SP'd all week and lost by an average of about 47 to 70 kills. So we came into the match trying to get the gimmicky ambush up to start. We happened to pull it off, and then it really felt like we were riding that wave for the first 15 minutes of, hey, we landed the first kill. Maybe we can compete in this zone. Just these crazy irrational thoughts going into our head. I mean, I said it on the post game too. There was a lot of like hype for us as the game was going on, and after the game, people were cool to us. But also, just as a competitor in anything, it's really just shout out to Cocaine. They did eventually get ahead of us, pulled away with it. I don't know enough to say what their best lineup is and stuff. I just don't know these people yet. But I'll say we had a lot of fun playing it. We were bummed we couldn't close it out because we were kind of believing for, I think, up until 17 minutes we were in there. But I'd say the funniest low light, and hopefully it doesn't repeat in the season, is 3 of us, myself included, ran out of ammo. And we're just yelling on comms like, what do? We have no ammo. And in hindsight, maybe we're supposed to sub people, or I think the ultimate answer is to do a better job picking it up after fights. But yeah, it was fun for us. We do hope that we can stay competitive and post similar scores, maybe with a win eventually. We'll see.
All right, Bax.
So yeah, shout out to Macrodata. I mean, losing by 8 for their first USL match ever is incredible, especially against Cocaine. Even though Cocaine did have their B lineup, I mean, they didn't have Easoe, they didn't have Ninja in. That would have made a huge difference, but still, they still had good players in. Macrodata did amazing. Albert and Axidus really stands out as Ripper to me. I played a SB with him last night, and he's a problem Ripper. His aim is insane, and I don't know. These guys are gonna be. They're gonna pull out an upset somewhere. Hopefully not against my squad, but they're gonna pull something out.
Yeah, and you guys touched on a lot of it. I'm going to give a shout out to Desi. I know Easoe gave a shout out to Bonds, but for Desi's first game as a medic, he wasn't really, and this is credit to the leadership, right, as well, but he wasn't putting himself in bad positions as a medic, and he, for the most part, was staying safe, getting heals out to the guys, and that's very refreshing to see from a new medic. Really not taking any risks and staying in good position to keep everybody alive. Because as we all know, as long as the meds live, everybody else should be able to live. I will troll my buddy Josh a little bit. I think he should have changed from Nader if you guys were going to sit outside your base as long as you did for those open fights. I think if he switched to AT sooner, some of those fights that did swing towards Cocaine could have possibly swung in y'all's favor, and you guys maybe, again, hindsight is 2020, maybe you guys might have pulled away with that win. But that's enough about that match. Great game to both teams in that aspect. So the next match of the night was K-Dude over Darkslayers 51-22, MVP being Colossal. Fausto, go ahead.
Yeah, so I played in this match and led this match, and it kind of went how I think all of us expected from last week's USL Live, where we were going to lose. We did go in there with a bit of confidence, obviously, given the playoff close game we had last season. Unfortunately, didn't pan out this way this time. We kept it pretty competitive for, I would say, the first 10 minutes here of this match. I would like to say that my first kill was against Fairfax. Shout out to Fairfax. I am your kryptonite. And I'll leave it at that. Thanks for switching to medic. But no, overall, in all seriousness, K-Dude played a very good game. I liked what K-Dude did, where they kept pushing into East Mid, and they were pretty much getting the North angle on top of Pig, as opposed to the usual standard South pushes in the rocks, and it was very effective against us. I think we couldn't really catch our footing, and we didn't really have anybody getting opening kills from our side. If you look at our scores here, Kaga and I amounted to for 12 kills combined, and that's 12 out of 22 kills. And so, and speaking of people like Typhoon, he mentioned he's very disappointed in his performance. He's looking to bounce back this coming week. Considering how phenomenal he was last season, going 1-8 really did affect us, as he's probably our top-rated killer in the squad. If Typhoon's not getting kills, it's harder for us to catapult into that upper echelon of top squads. That's not taking anything away from K-Dude. They played exceptional against us. Jeff had an outstanding game. Sov had an outstanding game. And then after that, their squad mates did okay. I see TG with 6 kills and Nas with 6 kills. But Jeff and Sov popped off, and they deserved the victory on Sunday, and we're going to bounce back after going back and watching the video playback. That's all I'm going to say. Good job to K-Dude.
Yeah, fair enough. Easoe?
Yeah, this is one I think where the final score really doesn't tell the full story of the match. Darkslayers, if I remember right, they were in the match for about till 15 minutes, maybe even possibly longer than that. So they played really well. Kaga actually had a really, really good first half. He was kind of putting in the work to keep them in the game. Fausto as well was doing really well. Just at the end of the day, at the end of the game, what happened is it just kind of no one else, like Fausto said, had stepped up. It was just them two pretty much. And if they could just get a little bit more help, from Molo, Typhoon, one of those guys, or even both of them, the match would be a lot different as far as the outcome. And then as far as on K Dude, I feel like definitely expected. You guys. It was rough at first, but I felt like once you guys got it going, you definitely got it going. And Jeff started popping off. I think I said it in chat that he was hard carrying. Sav was doing really well, and yeah, like I said, it's kind of just after you guys found your footing, you guys really started clicking.
Okay, Angelus.
Yeah, I mentioned before I was actually really excited to watch this one because while I've heard the legends of Sav and his group, I hadn't seen it play yet. Before the match, I had watched some old VODs that people sent me from previous games. But I guess what really stood out to me as a new person was how effective Colossal was. So my group was watching it on our Discord, just making comments. And I think half the game we were just like, oh, look at Colossal making the wide push and just crushing someone, just streaming like 8 out of 10 bullets onto someone. So I was really impressed by that. I do agree with the comments that I don't think the score is super indicative of how the game looked for the beginning. It's just one of those snowball effects that we're learning the hard way as well here in USL, where things start to get out of hand. You try a little too hard to get back in it, and suddenly you go from down 7 to down 14 to down 20, and it's just out of hand. But it was fun to watch for me. I was, not rooting for anyone, but learned a lot of better Marines than me out there, and I like watching them play.
All right, Bax.
This was another good game. I mean, 51-22, and Darkslayers had the right side of EC, which, in my opinion, is the worst side. And against K Dude, which was supposed to be the best squad. I still think they're the best squad. So I mean, Kaga played great, Fausto too. But Simp, sorry to say, he did not play well. He had the lowest healing points, which if you have Dead healing more than you, there's kind of an issue there. So I don't know. Havoc has to step it up. Maybe it's not going well with the new squad for him, but maybe he'll play better. I don't know. Well, no, I mean, nothing really here. Sav, Colossals, Nas. I mean, just took control of the game, really. But it's a good outcome for Darkslayers, honestly. 51-22.
Yeah, fair enough. And I mean, I said it after the whole week was done. I did not have a good week at all. I played like absolute dog shit. Fausto caught me, I think, once or twice. I know one for sure when I pushed East Rocks and he was just randomly ambushing and came from behind me there. But yeah, Sav and Jeff hard carried. And yeah, 51-22. So we'll move on to the next match, which was Cocaine over K Dude, 44-21, with the troll MVP Sav. Fausto, go ahead.
This was a good match to watch. I had fun on this match. Obviously, my boy, I'm gonna glaze a little bit. Easoe popped off. I called it last week on USL Live. Double-digit kills, 10. I really did like what Cocaine did. I like that Jersey Boys play they did at their base again on Titan side, and they did it twice. And I'm sure the thought was, it worked one time. They don't think we're going to expect to do it again. And sure enough, they did the exact same ambush, and it worked the second time. Their pushes were just better. They were more cohesive. So I'd like to hear, later on in the commentators from Eric to see what the thought process was there, because you guys looked a little lost, which I'm surprised considering how well you played Darkslayers. I'm not too sure if it was a lineup thing, if it was just a consistency thing with a couple of players. But I mean, you went from Jeff being to completely dominating Darkslayers the previous game to getting 3 kills on this side. Is it just a shutout, or was it just a well played game by Cocaine? Um, I think the player that I was really surprised to see, I think Victim did a hell of a job on Cocaine medding, and I think obviously Iron, best medic in the game, doing well. Easoe did great. Pister led exceptional, but that also goes because he's been under Mr. Sov's leadership in the past, so he kind of knows how Soft thinks and reacts. So that's all I got to say. Great job to Cocaine.
All right, Easoe.
Yeah, so this was definitely an outcome I think not too many people expected. I'll even include myself. I did. I mean, I thought we would be able to win. Definitely not by that margin, though. That's for sure. As far as the game itself, I'll keep it kind of brief because I was in the game. So I mean, I would have to rewatch the video and really kind of see what happened as far as details. From what I do remember, though, Kevin had some really timely mortars. I remember, having people right in front of my face and just fighting it out, and then all of a sudden it comes, flying through the air, and he got Jeff a few times. So that really helped out. SV played a really great game as well. As Fausto mentioned, Pister was leading really great. And then Victim, it was really refreshing to see him. He's kind of those throwback medics that's going to keep you alive. And instead of firing, he's going to, he's going to heal. He's going to bio dart. He's going to make sure he gets everything off heal wise before he starts firing. So I really enjoyed playing with him. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Gotcha. Exodus? Or fucking Angelus?
I don't have that kind of ripper aim. But yeah, I blindly kind of called this on the cast last week. I was thinking coming in, I don't know any of these guys except for Sav or a few on his team, maybe Mountain. But I kept hearing how there was this big super stack squad. And I've just seen it before, whether it's in video games or sports, where at the beginning of a season, you get this ultra stack squad that everyone's upset about and they're going to crush everyone. I'm a big believer in game theory that if you're the overwhelming favorite, you do feel that pressure, whereas the other team gets to play freely. Like, just go out there and have fun. And to me, that's what it looked like. As soon as Cocaine got ahead, I can't speak for anyone on K-Dude, but I'm guessing the thought is like, this isn't supposed to be happening. And then you're overthinking like the analysis of the game while it's still going. So pat on my own back for blindly predicting this. Standout player to me was probably E. And I do remember K had a couple grenade shots just one-tapping people. So I actually hate seeing that. I hate when it happens to me, which is way too often. But, shout out to the guys who play that class and are landing them. So, yeah, it was fun to watch again. I had just seen K-Dude get their spread on against Darkslayers a little bit earlier in the night and kind of take over the map. And then to see them unable to break a similar defense to what we used against Cocaine an hour before, it was just neat to see it from both sides. We ran that same sort of defense, which I don't know what it's called. I just know it's outside the Titan dropship. And Cocaine ran it for a lot of that game. They were able to hold really firm and pick up some kills. So, fun game to watch. Good job, everyone.
Yeah. Bax?
All right, so I don't think, in my opinion, Cocaine won this game. I think K-Dude just lost it. I say that because Cocaine, I think I saw them push once on their half of the map to the right. Other than that, they just stayed on the left. And, we have this whole conversation of, oh, this class doesn't work with USL because we're camping. But we're seeing camping every time, every match. Cocaine literally camped the left side of their base. You saw when they did those two plays, that's right outside their dropship. And I think K-Dude just kind of got impatient. They were on the right side, so at that point they just kind of had to go look for them, and unfortunate deaths. But I think if the sides were reversed and K-Dude was on the left, Cocaine loses by 30-40. And I guarantee if they replayed this, K-Dude will win it. They won't make the same mistake twice, for sure. And if they had Champion, I think it'll make a big difference. I don't know who they take out, but it'll make a big difference. But, I mean, I don't think people should take too much into this win. Cocaine, rewatch it. They just sat on the left side. It's a corny way to win, but a win is a win, right? So, good job to them, but it's corny.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It was a effective and good strategy from Pister. The second they took the lead off of, I want to say, a overstay on our end. I think we pushed out of west mid, kind of around plus building area, and they had their respawners coming. They capitalized on some kills and they pursued all the way through east mid. And I think that's when they took the lead, and then that's exactly when they started sitting outside of their base. And to what Angelus was saying, macro data gave them the blueprint for what to do, or at least just because of how the match timings played out, that's how it seemed, right? It was almost like the realization of, hey, this happened to us, and we had struggle breaking it. We think K-Dude will do the same with our top lineup. I mean, everybody wanted to say it's a super stack at the beginning of the season, and while that, I guess, for the most part could be true, I had a terrible game. But you have Easoe and Ninja show up, Easoe popping off, Ninja being a menace as AT, and then Kevin hitting some mortars. It's hard to break that camp. And I think, to what I want to say Bax was saying, we did get impatient. I think we tried breaking that from the north far too many times, and I think it's because of that ambush around the lip just outside of the baselines that worked twice that kind of stopped us from trying to break it from the south again. But I think if we kind of brute forced it again south as opposed to going north all the time, I think it would have been not necessarily effective, but I think it would have been a better chance to break it as opposed to the north side. But shout out to Easoe, shout out to Kevin for their kills. And the next match and the final match of that night was Evo. What the hell? Where am I? I'm sorry. Franco at Evolution. I'm mixing my words, dude. Fausto, go ahead.
Okay, so this match was interesting to watch. Obviously, Franco Tiradores had a huge win. We all expected that to happen to transit into the actual match itself. Top killers, there was 5 people on Franco that had double-digit kills. You'd love to see that. I'm glad that my boy Pandy really popped off. Bax and I believe Flo combined 32 kills there. That's great to see. So my only gripe with this squad, and I was casting this squad or this match, excuse me, is that players like DP really played well, given the circumstances and given the beating that they took. But I guess the mentality there, which I respect, is let's play everybody. Let's just get everybody in and have fun. And I understand that. But me personally, I like to log in, have fun, but also play, right? And so, given the circumstances of the sequence of where these 2 squads stack up in our lineup of squads this season, I really think that Bowen should have played his top 8 players on this match, as opposed to against somebody like K-Dude, somebody like Cocaine, somebody like Dark Slayers. I really think he should have stayed with the top players. I think there was subs on both squads. Evolution had a few. My second gripe with this is that 2 of Evolution's players recross rape lines. Why is that? These are, for the most part, veteran players. They're by their base, and they got the league administrator on their squad. Yeah, I'm going to be that guy and ask that question right off the rip, because people are talking about it, right? I think that the staff did do their job correctly. Staley stepped up and enforced the rules, given the semi-ambiguity of the rules right now and not too clear because they've been ever-changing the last few weeks. But those were my 2 gripes of this match. I think Franco Tiradores played a great game overall. I'm not going to take anything away from them. It looks like they had fun in the process, and they just continue to push, and push. So good job to Baxton's company.
Yeah. Easoe?
Yeah, this is the one match I didn't actually really get to watch at all. So just kind of go based off of scores here. I mean, pretty much expected, to be honest with you. One thing that Fausto mentioned that kind of just like is glaring is how many different players played for Evolution in that game. As he had mentioned, I definitely would just stick to your top 8. If maybe the match was going kind of downhill from there, then definitely by all means start getting some subs in. As far as Franco Tiradores, they did, like I said, they did what they're supposed to do. Flo popped off 16-1. Shout out to him. I had him on my fantasy. I saw it coming. Bax as well had a really good game, and then Hop after him. Yeah, like I said, just expected. We'll see if they could keep this up. That was, definitely the lowest squad, I think, as far as top 6. So we'll see if they could keep it going next week.
Yeah. Go ahead, Angelus.
Yep. We had actually played against Franco Theodoris multiple times last week. I don't know, 10 SBs or something. They gave us a lot of work. So I knew going in, Bax was going to be walking forward, which is ironic given all the dueling memes. But I mean, he did just that. They got off to a rocky start, and I think the other team had the lead for a couple minutes. But once Bax's team got the lead, they kept holding forward and pushing the lead. I thought Bax was racking up a ton of kills. Flo had some ridiculous ratio. And then Jim, who's one of my favorites from CTF, he was only in for a little bit, but I think he racked up like 6 or 7 kills. So on my Discord, a bunch of people were talking about this great fantasy value in Jim. I'm not playing fantasy, so I didn't fully understand it, but shout out Jim because we all know him. As far as the rape line thing, I think the people that crossed it were new. I know Spark, like he comes from CTF with some of the same of us that are coming over. We were excited to see him get in the game. Like, all right, Spark, let's see what you can do. And then 30 seconds later, he spec'd for a violation. We were actually wondering, like, couldn't they just let it play out given the situation of the game? But I don't know or want to argue with the rules, that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, Bax's squad got control of this, I think maybe around the 5-minute mark, and it wasn't too close after that.
Okay, Bax?
Yeah, before I say one thing about this match, I want to say one thing that'll take 10 seconds. I'm tired of hearing this stacking squad of K dude. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, we all have hands, we all have a brain, right? Like, why are they better than us? I don't know. They're just better. Like, the other squads just have to get better. My squad included, every other squad. Like, they're not like superhumans, right? Like, I don't get it. So just stop talking about that. People are always going to play with who they want to play. So I think that should never be talked about ever again. But this match, yeah, I mean, I took some stupid deaths. I had 7 deaths. I shouldn't have had that many, but Flo played great. The thing about specking those guys, I think we always talk about the ref always having discretion, right? Having like the final word. I think the ref should have just saw who those people were and been like, all right, let me not spec him immediately, because I think Spark or Avis got spec like within a second of going in the lines. I think he should have waited maybe 15, 20 seconds for Bowen to be like, hey, get back out there. You can't cross in. I don't think they should inspect. They're new. Now, if it was like Smackrock or like Bowen, yeah, spec them. But the new guys, I think the ref could have just let it slide, especially since we were just at their base shooting them. But he did do his job. Another thing, Jim was spec'd, and he honestly got spec'd once he started killing people. He started, he racked up 6 kills. He was in first place, and then Boeing called him out for lagging. I respect it because it's gameplay too, right? Like, you don't want this guy in who's shooting, kind of lasers and stuff. But I think now if you spec Jim, you have to look closely at other players. Like, in my opinion, Ninja lags. So on his matches, if I'm up against Ninja, I'm going to be watching that and be like, yo, if you're specking Jim for some little lasers or shots coming away from his body, you got to do the same for Ninja. So, I mean, I feel bad for Jim because now it's like, do I put him in a game ever? Because that's just his lag. So, can Jim ever play in this league? I don't know. It sucks because, sorry, Jim is like in the league. So, I don't know. It was bad seeing Jim spec, but whatever. We got somebody else in, and yeah, I mean, this was probably one of the only match that wasn't close.
All right. I didn't see the match, so Easoe pretty much took the words out of my mouth. But just to, I guess, answer what Bax was saying, if you're asking for the same treatment from Jim to Ninja, then what the refs did to Spark and Abby were correct. And I get that they're new players, but it's got to be strict across the board. If they're going to break the rule, they have to get spec'd immediately, because if it were to be another team, other players, regardless of if they're vets or not, unless they're like pushed in by a mortar or something and then run immediately out, you know what I mean? But it's just got to be strict across the board. It's got to be the same thing. But other than that, let's get into Week 2 predictions. The first match of Week 2 will be Dark Slayers at Evolution at 8:45. Fausto?
Yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time on this one. The outcome is going to be Dark Slayers over Evolution by a high margin. I think we have to redeem ourselves. Mind you, it's a different squad we're facing. And so I just hope it's a fun game. I really do hope that Bowen comes up with some cool little tricks up his sleeve, some camps, or I don't know, some setups, some plays to just make it a little more exciting for the viewers and not just a slaughter, so to speak. We probably will be getting different people play time, as we do have quite a bit of an active roster. So just look for a lot of support classes, a lot of interchanging pieces throughout our match. But yeah, it's going to be a one-sided victory in regards to this match.
All right, Easoe?
First thought is, oof. It's going to be a rough match. I think Dark Slayers are going to take out that week 1 frustration on Evolution, unfortunately. All I can really say, I hope Evolution, as we kind of mentioned earlier, was play your top 8. Try your hardest at the beginning. If it's not going the way you want it to go, then kind of you make changes from there. But hopefully they kind of slow it down and keep it close. But yeah, it's going to be a big win for Dark Slayers, unfortunately.
All right, Angelus?
Yeah, I think typically Dark Slayers is considered a slow playing squad. They like to get a lead, then play safe to protect it. I think we're going to really see them bust open this game. where once they get a lead, they're probably going to push it similar to how Bax's squad pushed it on Evolution last week. So, unfortunately for Evolution, I would predict Dark Slayers by a pretty large margin.
Gotcha. Bax?
Yeah, same as everyone said, Dark Slayer is going to win. But I do want to see Evolution just try some crazy stuff. Like, use a Nader, Ripper, LMG, spread out, hide somewhere in the barrels, somewhere random, and just do something totally different. Like, splitting up into two groups and just being like, yo, hold this. Like, it's not going to work. Like, I've tried it, like, with those same kind of players, and it's tough. Like, whenever I had those same players and had won a battle, I'm not even talking winning a match because we didn't win matches, but winning a battle, we always did something different. Like, we had people in different spots, camping, just do weird things. Don't play it straight up like everybody else does, and keep the score low. You don't want people just racking up kills. So I don't know. I hope they just keep the score low, doing something crazy. Maybe practice some random plays. I don't like seeing people lose like that. You know, I've been on that side, so it's not too fun. But yeah, Dark Slayers will win.
Yeah, I agree. Dark Slayers is definitely going to take this. What I would like to see is Evolution kind of mimic what Cocaine and Macro Data did week 1 against these guys. If they could get a cheeky ambush off the start and then play it safe, not necessarily right at their base, but closer to their base, so that if they go down one, they have that quick respawn and keep it close. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. I think Dark Slayers, like everybody else has said, are going to take out their frustration on Evolution. And I will say Evolution has a rough week too, because they also have K-Dude at 11. So moving on to the next match, it's going to be probably my match of the week. It's going to be Macro Data at Dark Slayers. The CTFers play what was supposed to be a CTF squad, now turned into a bunch of SK vets with maybe 1 or 2 CTFers in their main roster. Go ahead, Fausto.
Yeah, I'm excited for this match for sure. Like I said, I'm not really too familiar, aside from a couple of the CTFers on Macro Data, but I know that my guys, as mentioned in week 1, have a little bit of bloodlust against the squad. We want to be considered the first and premier CTF squad. Mind you, we've had some recruit decisions that have changed the makeup of our squad, but overall, we were the first CTF squad, so they wore that pin proudly, right? I think it's going to be a slower paced match. I think it's going to be a very methodical match for the most part. I know how Albert leads, I know how Yosh leads, and they know how I lead, and so it's going to be a give and take. I think it's going to be maybe a couple of battles in South Rocks, but I think it's going to be swinging at either side of the bases, depending on who has the lead. We're going to try to really focus on the leadership this match and try to take out Albert and Yosh, because without them, Macrodata will be pretty lost, and not to knock them, but they're just newer to the zone, newer to the map. I'm really looking forward to my team stepping up. The killers that we have, such as Typhoon and Molo, we have been practicing the last 2 nights in squad battles. They've gone good, they've gone bad, but at least we're practicing. That's the biggest thing. We didn't really practice in the off season, and so I'm really looking forward to this match. I think it's going to be a close match, though. I think it's going to be within a 7 to 10 kill margin. I'm going to say my squad's going to win, just for drama's sake, but it could go either way regardless.
Okay, Easoe?
Yeah, this is, I'm going to call it right now. I think this is going to be the match of the season. I think both of these squads, from what I've seen, I haven't been on too much the last few nights late, but I do see that they're both they're both putting in that time. So I think both squads are going to be pretty excited coming into this match. But yeah, I definitely see something really close. As Fausto had mentioned, I see between a 5 to 7 kill margin. It's going to be really tight. And I do see Dark Slayers taking it at the end. But as I mentioned, if Macro Data could just kind of play that similar style that they were playing against Cocaine, they're going to be pretty tough to beat. I haven't really looked to see who gets sides, so that's going to be a pretty big deal as well. But yeah, definitely, it's going to be a close one, and I'm excited to watch this one. As far as for players to look out for, we kind of touched on it a bit here, but I expect to see Brill have a big game. I'm not sure if Kaga is going to show again or not, but if he's not, I definitely expect to see a bounce back game from guys like Molo and Typhoon. As far as from macro data, Albert has to have a big game. I feel like he's going to need to carry them all season and kind of be that deadliest killer for that squad. And then after him, I was actually really surprised at how good Angelus was. So he's going to need to keep doing what he's doing, and then Bonds as well. He's going to kind of be, the heart of that team as far as the medic department.
All right, Angelus.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of hype coming into our second game ever. I'd love to agree and say this is going to be the match of the season, but if we're going to be part of the match of the season, I think it's going to be later on in the season when we have a bit of a firmer grasp on what's going on around us. We're excited for the game just like any other game. Like I said, we're SBing every night since last Monday, I think, for 2 to 3 hours, depending on who's ready to go. So we're just trying to get the reps in, learn the game, get around the map, learn different things to do and damage thresholds, that kind of thing. I'll take the flip against Fausto. He said Dark Slayers by 10 or so. I'll say my team by 10 or so. Close game. Maybe it comes down to the last fight and the other team's slipping for it while one's trying to hold on. We are the away team, so that's going against us this time. But I don't know. We're looking forward to it. Hope it's a good game and everyone watching has fun too.
All right, Bax.
All right. I mean, I think the only real CTF squad here is Macrodata. Dark Slayers is not a CTF squad. So I don't know. They've never been a CTF squad in my eyes. Maybe for like the first time they were recruiting, but now they're not a CTF squad. But if Kaga doesn't show, I think it'll be a close match. If Kaga does show, I think he's going to be too strong for Macrodata. His LMG is just insane. His streams are always on point. But Macrodata does have Exodus, which his Ripper, man, is really it's something. I know in SBs, Macrodata doesn't play like it's a match, which is a good thing. They're kind of just going out there and trying to push people, which I think is how they should play. But I think some SBs they should try to pretend it's a match, like here and there. I know most SBs they're kind of just fighting out. They're pushing a lot, which is good to do. Get the reps and seeing how you can find the open. But I do if Kaga doesn't show, I think Macrodata can pull out a win. I don't know what side they have either. I don't know if the site is accurate there, but if they have left side or whatever the left side is, Macrodata can win. If Kaga doesn't show. If Kaga shows, Dark Slayers takes it. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, so Angelus just said they have a way, so they will be collective, which is the right side. I agree with the fact that if Kaga, I'll say if Kaga doesn't show, I think Macrodata wins. I know Yosh has been doing a lot of VOD reviews, and to what Bax was saying, they do not play the same in matches that they do in scrims. In scrims, they are learning points of contention. They are pushing, even sometimes odd number pushes just to get those reps in and to see what they and to kind of limit test a little bit, right? And it's giving them more confidence. It's giving Yosh more confidence in kind of loosening the leash, as you will, which then allows him to play a little bit more of his game without having to micro everybody. I think that these guys are going to continuously get better, and I to Angelus's point, I think, and I think I said it in my power rankings in the season, the second half of the season for these guys, they are going to be dangerous for everybody, honestly speaking. Now, I also know that Angelus mentioned that everybody's going to get playtime. We're going to see different lineups each week, kind of, sort of. So it'll be interesting to see who starts. I think Albert, Axie, Angelus, and Yosh are kind of your staple. Those people need to be in, and everybody else is kind of in a rotation. But I think Macro takes this by 10 kills. So moving on to the next match of the week, it will be Bax's squad versus Cocaine, which to me, if Macrodata wasn't playing Dark Slayers, this would be match of the week, specifically because Bax recruited Mecha. So Fausto, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a fun match to watch. I'm gonna try to maybe commentate on this one. I mean, just put it bluntly, I think Cocaine's gonna run away with it. I think that while Pandy had a great game last week with excuse you there, Bex. While Pandy had a great game last week against Evolution, I think players on Cocaine are really gonna pick him apart. especially once Pandy kind of goes, and I love him to death, but once he kind of like starts getting a couple of deaths here and there, it kind of goes downhill. I really do hope Jordan shows up. If he does show up, it's going to be a competitive game against Cocaine. I don't think it's going to be that close. I still think that Cocaine's going to run away with it. I would say a margin of about 20 to 30. I still think players and leadership and medics are just on point right now with Cocaine, and they got that momentum coming in from week one. That's a huge driving factor. I think it's going to be fun for the first 15 minutes, but it's going to break away as soon as the second half starts in this match.
All right, Easoe.
So I was planning on not showing to this match until Bax started talking shit. So I'll probably show. I do think Cocaine takes this, and it's going to be probably by a bigger margin than we expect. I would say probably like 20 to 25 kills. I do see since they Franco Tiradores added Mecha, that's a big game changer for them just because he has that ability to shot call and kind of take over leading or at least help if they need it. And then also definitely expect Flo to come out and have a good game. And then also if they could get Stabit on the show, I'm not sure if he's going to be in every week medic. That's going to be pretty much detrimental to the success of that squad. But yeah, I definitely see Cocaine taking this pretty big. Yeah.
All right, Angelus.
For me as a spectator, this is match of the week. I've got to play with both these squads, even inting with some of them sometimes, so I'm getting to know some of the people. I think it's a cool dynamic where, like I said before, Bax likes to push forward and he leads a squad that way from what I can tell. Whereas we've seen Cocaine in that game that we just talked about with K-Dude last week kind of shell up and just protect the lead. So depending on who gets ahead early, I'm excited to see how the other squad reacts because it's against their main principles from what I've seen in a week of SBing. I'd like to keep my streak alive of taking an underdog. I'll take what's perceived as the underdog this week and say Bax's squad takes this one by about 15.
All right, Bax.
All right, first of all, Cocaine is going to take the left side because I can't win a coin flip. So they're happy about that, and I think they're relieved about that. And first of all, this squad is filled with three of the biggest bitches on this game. Kev, Pister, and Easoe. All right? Kev kicked me from Cocaine because I beat him in a Nader competition and a 1v1 Marine thing. Pister let it happen, whatever. So this is definitely a great match that I want to win personally. When I was kicked, Kev said, good luck getting a squad. The only people you can get are that dude, Chica, Trax, Smackrock. Those are the only people that will ever join you. Now look at my squad. Do you see any of them there? Kev, Pister? No, right? So what happened there? I don't know what happened there. I guess I'm more like than you guys think. And the thing with Mecha is he kept his word. I'm not surprised he joined. He told me a month ago he was joining. This Mecha made the squad revenge, right? So having Mecha come back is huge. He kept his word. And I think us having right side is a huge disadvantage, but we're gonna play how they play, I think. All right. They like staying on the left, we're gonna stay on the right. So the ref better get ready to call cam time on both of us because I'm not just gonna push into their little bullshit. Like they think they're the best, but all they do is stand there and wait. They're gonna try to play like that, and I hope they try to push us, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully we have Staff show up. He's one of our best medics. Hopefully Mecha shows up. But I don't know. I think Cocaine is on a fake high beating K-Dude. I don't think they'll beat K-Dude again. But I'll think we'll win by about 5 kills. Fisher's going to do his little bullshit. 2 groups, 4 and 4. Mountain's going to run in mid, solo. I'm going to go meet Mountain in mid. Mountain, go to mid at the start. How about that? All right, Mountain? Go to mid. I'll meet you in mid. I'll body you, and then I'll flank your team. All right? Don't be scared of going mid, all right? But we're going to win this game by 5 or 6.
All right. Before Easoe opened his mouth and said that he was going to show, I was going to say that if Cocaine plays the same lineup that they did against Macro Data, Bax wins this. However, with Easoe showing, I think that they will find a way to break the battle open and then just kind of take away. I don't think it's going to be a blowout win. I think it's going to be kind of to the opposite of backs, 5 to 6 kills in favor of Cocaine, just because with Mecha kind of joining in and being able to help shot call for backs, if backs does go down and just have that veteran presence, I think they'll be able to preserve deaths and just kind of keep it close. But in my mind, Cocaine wins, let's just say 45-40. So then this takes us to the last match of the night, and that's going to be Evolution at K-Dude at 11 o'clock. Go ahead, Fausto.
Oof. Yeah, another way to end the week 2 matches. I think we kind of mentioned earlier on the Dark Slayers versus Evolution match. Evolution just needs to try something new against K-Dude. I mean, they need to try ambushes and quirky plays and things like that. Just think outside the box. If you get called for camp timer, you get called for camp timer. Just move, set up, and just try to make it fun. And by fun, I mean competitive. But please keep your 8 players in, your top 8 players, until it starts to go downhill. I think it's going to go downhill pretty fast. I think it's going to be a landslide victory for K-Dude, and I think they're going to break 100. And I'm hoping Evolution breaks 20. And it's not to glaze one squad and hate the other, but it is what it is.
Gotcha. Easoe?
Yeah, this is a rough week for Evolution. I had to check the schedule. I didn't realize they had, these 2 squads, K-Dude and Dark Slayers, in the same week. So it is going to be tough. Hopefully what I would say is just every battle that you have against K-Dude, you need to make sure that they're pushing you guys either in a choke or while they're in terrible position, because that's going to be the only chance you have of getting kills. I'm not even talking about winning the game, just getting kills in general. So hopefully, Bowen, kind of takes that to heart. If they have to camp, like Fausto said, they have to camp, but just make sure that you're always at an advantage and they're pushing you at a disadvantage. That's what I would say. But yeah, I definitely see a landslide outcome for K-Dude. They probably win this by about 85 to 90 kills.
All right, Angelus?
Yeah, just like someone mentioned for their first game of the night when they play Dark Slayers, my recommendation would be not to shell up and have 8 people hide behind a wall, but don't spread yourselves thin in the middle of the map. Sit back a little bit. It may be frowned upon by the community, I guess, but stay on your side of the map for the most part. Try to keep vision. If you move to the middle of the map against K-Dude, what I learned in SBs is they're going to find whatever angle they need to get all around you, and it's not going to go well. So, yeah, some of these ambush plays, maybe get an early lead like we did against Cocaine with MDR week 1, and then try to just find a defensive position on your side of the map, close to respawn. As someone that's played for 10 days, that would be my best recommendation. But I do expect K-Dude to take care of business with this one and win by a large margin.
All right, Bex?
Yeah, this is tough for Evolution, having to play K-Dude. I mean, K-Dude is going to come out, they're going to come out pissed off after losing to those herbs on Cocaine. They're going to come out and try to I'm sorry, but they're going to try to drop 100 kills on you guys. Don't let it happen. Camp. Throw every person on a different corner of the map. Make it impossible for them to hit 100. Or you could do just try to play how you play. But I say, again, try to just throw people on different corners of the map. Maybe you catch a straggler 2v1 and take them out. It is what it is. Again, I don't see Evolution winning. No way. I just think they should keep the score super low and try some crazy stuff. I think that's about all they can do.
Yeah, I expect an ambush on probably the solo, myself or Sov or whoever's gonna solo. I expect them to get that ambush kill and then try and either fall back and force us to push towards their base, or try and force the pace of the battle with it being 8v7. I think for us, we're just going to try and get that first battle and go right to their base if that's how they're going to play, and just keep them in the open and keep them contained and know where they are at all times. I do see us winning, but everybody else has already kind of beaten that one to the brink. So that wraps up week 2. I have 6 mailbag questions. Fausto, you got any?
I got 2 or 3. I believe 2 for sure, though.
Okay. Angelus, did you get any?
No, I had someone ask me if they could send me a mailbag question, and I didn't even know if I was eligible to collect them. So I don't have any, but maybe next week I will.
No, you're good. Easoe, did you get any?
It's probably like 6, but I'm only gonna do a few of them.
Okay. And Bax, did you get any?
Yeah, I got 3.
All right. So I'll start it off with my 6, and then if it mimics some of your guys, just delete the duplicates. All right. So we're gonna start off a little spicy. First one is, I'm wondering if you can ask why it is that every squad and captain is super accepting and open to macro data, besides Tyrael and X5, who continuously call us fags and wish we weren't supporting the league. Fausto, as a member of that squad, what say you about your captains, dude?
You know, I don't know what. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I don't know what beef these boys have in CTF. I really don't. They don't talk a lot of shit in our Discord channel, but they do want to beat macrodata. It's not that they're not welcoming; they just want to prove a point for whatever reason. I'm not sure. Um, I really do think that my boys here are just, even though people disagree, that since they were the first CTF squad last season, they got that chip on their back. You know what I mean? Chip on their shoulder, so to speak. I've never seen him say specific things about Angelus and Exodus and Desi and all them, but I think it makes for good drama, and we all love some good drama, right, Bex?
Hell yeah. Beef is
There you
good,
go.
dude.
Well, good transition. Bax, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of know the drama from anonymous person on Darkslayers, basically saying that they ruined CTF, changing this, changing that over there, and now they're coming. He said they're coming to USL, trying to change a whole bunch of stuff or question a bunch of stuff. So I think that's really where the beef comes from. Kind of like this anonymous person saying that macro data, right? Yeah, macro data is coming over here trying to change our league and doing all this stuff. So I think that's mainly where the beef comes from, and them changing a whole bunch of stuff in CTF and ruining the league supposedly.
Well, my
But that's
question
why.
to that then is, what the hell are they? The only thing they've requested is roster increase. To my knowledge, that is the only thing that they've requested. So I don't understand where that, if that's what the beef consists of, requesting for higher rosters so that they could get more people that wouldn't join any other squad anyways. That's kind of a one-sided beef and pretty stupid. But go ahead, back. Sorry.
Yeah, no. But the main beef was them changing stuff in CTF, and then Chucky quit CTF, right? Remember that he left for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. So there was beef about something being changed on CTF that they hated, so they stopped playing there, and now
Gotcha.
they just have that beef carryover.
Fair enough. Easoe, you got anything?
Not much. Honestly, I'm not even aware of the beef that's going on. So this is a surprise to me. I've seen the total opposite. Everyone's has been welcoming. If there is any beef, I guess we'll see the outcome of that after the match this weekend.
Angelus?
Yeah, as the captain of MDR, I'm kind of at a loss for words on this one too. I've known these guys on and off for 20 years just playing infantry, and I'd like to think I'm cool with most of them. I know factually that King or Tyrael doesn't like me because he told me so. I don't know the exact reason. If he wants to tell me at some point, cool. If not, whatever, I'll keep it moving. I said before, it's kind of a one-way beef. We have nothing against Dark Slayers or what they've done here. We're not coming in to prove anything, like these narratives that we're the big CTF squad. I just gathered my group of friends to come play a new zone, and all this drama got spun up somehow. So I don't know. There's no hard feelings on my part. We're just trying to play a game together.
All right.
I will say that Tyrael did say pretty boys need to get beat once in a while, and he was referring to you. And I guess you're also a Biden supporter on top of that, so that didn't help the case.
Wow.
All right. Next question is, why is Bax continuously dodging USL DL duels from Chompy? Bax?
First of all, he's provisional, right? So he should get his duels up. And I never dodged a duel from him when it wasn't for USL DL. I beat him. He's never beat me in a USL duel ever, and he never will. So, is it that hard for you to duel 5 more times to get out of provisional to face me? Like right now, you're not worthy. Like I already beat you without USL DL. Just go get 5 more duels and I'll do you right now, bro. Like you're not good. Like this is my mat. You have your mat in CTF. So stop thinking you're a good Marine over here. You're not a good dueler. So yeah.
Anybody else want to comment?
Quickly, USLDL is a joke. Because if I
I would body you. That's why you think it's a joke.
No, hold on. If I joined right now, I would be provisional, but we all know I'd smack you. So that's the last thing I'm gonna say.
You always decline duels. At least Split, as much of a bitch he is, he actually duels me.
All right, let's jump away from that one. Next one I got is, with macro data putting up a better performance against Cocaine than K-Dude did, can we consider them as the number 2 squad in our power rankings? If so, is it too soon to declare Dark Slayers as the inferior CTF squad? Anybody?
Angelus, hello.
Yeah. So again, it's a lot of pressure coming on me, I guess, because I have the captain title. These questions are brutal, man. I think that's a joke. We don't think we're better than anyone until we start beating people. So we're playing a lot. I talked a little bit before about I'm consuming all these VODs and data. I think you're seeing a lot of snowball effects in the first week where games could have been closer. People are trying a lot harder to catch back up. Whereas in our game against Cocaine, we were kind of the shelled up team, turtling as we call it in CTF. I don't know if you guys use that phrase here, but we were turtling outside of our dropship. So we did keep this game close, but I don't think there's any actual world where we're a top 2 squad right now. So no, I don't think so.
All right. Anybody else got thoughts on it? Once, twice.
Nope.
All right.
Nah.
Okay. This one's open for anybody as well. I'd like to know maybe 1 to 2 key tips for newbie medics. Fausto, Easoe, you got anything as being kind of more aggressive players? What would you want to see from a medic playing on your team that you think a new medic should replicate?
I think a medic that stands his ground, and I don't mean physically in the game, but a medic that demands his Marines and the LMGs and supports to go to him, and or her for that matter. I think time and time again we see these weaker players putting themselves and the medics in a bad spot, and I think the medics, kind of dictate the pace of a lot of these matches, whether you push, whether you fall. So I would say that is being proactive in your communication as to what you're comfortable with, and always heal yourself before you heal your your players around you. It's okay if a Marine dies as opposed to the medic, because the medic has 10 HP and they're running half a cord to save a fellow squaddie. So I would say those two things for sure.
Okay. Easoe?
I'll keep it brief, but yeah, as Foss had mentioned, keep yourself alive, because that's the most important part. You're going to keep your team alive. And then also, I touched on it a little bit earlier, is kind of exhausting all your healing options before you start firing. Use your bio dart, use your heals, all your heals, use all your energy. Then your PDW is going to be a last resort to help fight.
Okay. I'll toss one in as well. I will say that recognizing who you need to be with is going to be key, and as a newbie medic, it's definitely going to be a little difficult. But say you're fighting at Cockrock on EC, and your one Marine takes a huge stream, but he's safe behind Cockrock, and your other Marine is pushing and getting good damage. He's getting ready to kill people, but people are focusing him. Be with that Marine. Or LMG, whatever that class is, because that other person is safe for now. If they truly need a heal, they can run down that rock and get to you close while you stay with that fighting Marine, because that person's gonna end up trying to win that battle for you because they're engaged and they're getting focused, but they're almost killing people, right? So be with your aggressors, especially if the other ones are in a safe spot. But enough of that, unless Bax, you got anything?
Nah, man. I don't know anything about medding. Just if you want to learn how to play med, just go watch Iron. Copy what he does.
Okay. Next question I got is, how much of what we saw in week 1 was EC map dependent, and how much of it was skill of the squads?
I think EC is one of those maps that's pretty even for the most part. I mean, given Titan is the stronger of the two sides, but overall, I think aside from Cocaine versus K-Dude, which I mean they were the top 2 squads, who we predicted was gonna win, won, right? So I don't think it was vindictive of the map that was picked. I think it was more the squad that played.
Yeah, I agree. EC is definitely historically probably the most even map we have. I don't think it was EC map dependent. I think it was people just playing well and people just not playing well. And that was it. I don't think it was very dependent on the map. But yeah, Bax, Angelus, you guys got anything? Easoe?
I just think, again, people prefer to shoot left to right. Like 85% of the people shoot better when they shoot left to right. So I think any map where you just get the left side is better, and EC, same thing. Left side is better. And Pister over here laughing at the 85%. It's true though. Pister, you suck. You can't shoot right to left. You literally can't. I see it in duels. That's why you guys lose. You lose the first duel and it's over. But anyway,
All right,
that's all I gotta say.
Angelus or Easoe, you got anything?
Yeah, just
Nothing on my end.
Sure. The new guy opinion again. Most of my squad doesn't know any of the maps, so I just think it's player skill and adaptability to not the expected game, but the game you end up in. So the reality of a situation where we had never been in that situation before against cocaine, like in our own example. It's just kind of instincts and taking over with leadership provided from Yosh and Albert telling us like, okay, this is what we need to do now. I don't think it really depended too much on the map. I'm actually dreading the map shift because I put a lot of time into learning this map. So it's going to feel like starting the zone over almost next week when it shifts over. But it'll be fun in one regard, frustrating in another. But I think most of it just comes down to player skill and teams working together.
Okay. And this last question is primarily going to be for Fausto and Easoe. Who are your top 3 shit talkers pre-free infantry?
Oh, pre-free infantry.
Pre-free infantry.
Oof. Well, I mean, there was people that talk shit, but didn't really get a rise out of players.
Mhm.
I think a couple of good shit talkers. Bowen said Chrome. I think he was pretty good, but definitely KF for sure. He's one of my people still talk about him. You just laugh right there. I also think, even though he didn't talk a lot of shit, he got under a lot of people's skin. Was Knockdown.
Okay.
He was just that guy. And my third player that would talk shit a lot, I'm gonna say, no, not Deviak, Kevin. I'm gonna say Maddox, because he was so full of himself, but he was able to back it up given the time. And he balled it like at 25 years old. So I'm gonna say those 3.
I'm gonna replace Knockdown with you for TV. Do you remember him, the medic for System Error?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I would say KF, TV, and Maddox for sure. Easoe, what do you got?
Yeah, TV is a good one. So I'd agree there. Who else? I was just thinking of one. Yeah, I'm not sure. TV for sure. Then I mean, I guess you could throw anybody in there. I would even say myself at one point, and Eric too.
Me too. At one point.
Yeah, I guess we could really say ourselves, honestly.
I remember the old Scarface TM days. But all right, that's all I got. Fausto, you said you got a few. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, I'll start with the first one here. These are obviously going to stay anonymous. I'm not going to burn the bridge. First one I have is, after last season, was Eric's rating of facts a 90 on fantasy a troll? I get that he's an experienced vet, but that was 60 energy. Anybody, guys?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat the question?
All right, I would love to. After last season, was Eric's rating on facts a 90 on fantasy a troll? I get that he's an experienced vet, but that was 60 energy.
I would say, in all honesty, in the games we had, I think Fax played better than Iron, in the 2 matches we had. Unfortunately, it is what it is. I think he, for somebody who played Marine the last 2 seasons, 3 seasons, he jumped back into medic and didn't look too rusty on it. He did have his moments, but I think as the season progresses, he's definitely a 90 at med.
Anybody else?
I'd say it's fairly accurate. I guess you could give him my 80, but Yeah, nothing else.
Bax?
He said be right back, so we can
Okay.
skip his response.
Okay. So then I got another question. Angelus, you got anything on that one? You okay?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Next question. All right. Is it just a coincidence that Jersey Boys beat K Dude and now Mecha is back? It's pretty clear Mecha got dropped from the Cool Kids group. If K Dude had won, do you think Mecha would still be quote unquote busy in real life?
Okay, so
Go ahead.
nah, if you want to go, you can go.
I was gonna say I have no idea what Mecca's got going on in real life. I don't know. I will say that most of us on K Dude didn't actually expect this to be a squad, so I don't necessarily believe the whole drop from the cool kids thing. It just kind of turned into one. But I think he would have been back regardless.
So I got sent this same exact question by this person, and I think they're
Two people
stupid.
sent me that question, by the way. 2 people.
2 different people saying the same question. Weird.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I got the same exact question, copy and pasted. But I know what Mecca had going on. Obviously, I'm not going to say, and it kind of feels cool that Mecca trusted me with what he had going on. But it's pretty stupid to assume that. It doesn't make sense at all. I mean, he could easily go join them, right? Like, Eric, would you not allow Mecca to play with you? Like, I don't get it.
I think there's still TG Mecha beef, so I don't think that would happen. I'll always play with Mecha, so I have no issue with that.
But it has nothing to do with cocaine beating K Dude. Like,
No,
you
not
guys,
even.
yeah, it doesn't make sense. Like, it's not that serious. I don't think Mecha, lives around this game being like, oh, let me see who beat K Dude. Oh, okay, I'm gonna go join. No, that doesn't make sense. He had actual shit going on in his life that he couldn't play the game. So it's a stupid question.
Fausto, you got more?
I think I had one more. Hold on.
Is it alright if I touch on that real briefly?
Yeah, go ahead.
I know for a fact he had stuff going on outside of the game. So I mean, it is a stupid question. Um, I I probably won't mind it any attention anymore. Like if we get questions like that, but yeah, I know he had shit going on outside of the game, and it is what it is.
Oh, yeah, here's the last question. Why do the macro data boys pretend to be nice in SK when we all know they're a-holes in CTF?
So as somebody who once in a while dips their toes into CTF, I've never been, I guess, ignored or received a rude response from either Albert or Angelus. In fact, I think during the second draft league, I was primarily reaching out to Angelus for tips and tricks and how to get better at their zone, and he always helped me without question. So I don't. I'm presuming that Angelus's group in CTF is comparative to Sov's group in SK. That is my assumption. Angelus, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's just a vendetta embedded in that question that I just haven't experienced.
Yeah, I don't know exactly, but I am willing to stand on who me and my close friends are in CTF. I'd say we are admittedly opinionated. Like when we play the zone, we're trying to teach people how to play the zone. We tell them this is the best way to do it based on, X evidence as proof and whatnot. And I think that rubs people the wrong way, saying, oh, they're just elitist pricks who think they know everything. And I've called myself that in the CTF community. But at the same time, like I'm always more than willing to help someone, give them what I think is the best advice I can. And whether it's they need repetitions against my guys because we're doing squad battles or whatever you want to call them on the CTF side, OVD's mixes. We were always open to that last year. Even the new players, like brand new, a lot of my guys did go out of the way to try to help them learn the game, learn the zone, that kind of thing. So I really don't know. I agree it's some sort of vendetta, whereas us being opinionated has turned into this narrative of, oh, they're a bunch of pricks who just ruin it for everyone else. So I don't know. If anyone needs help in CTF, I've said it for over a year now on the CTF podcast we have. Feel free to reach out to me. There's people on this cast like Bax who I've worked with a little bit, and Ernie from this zone, and Eric and all these guys. Like I'm open to helping. I'll probably send you pages of information that's way too much to consume, but It's just how I give data to people.
All right. Anybody else?
I
No.
don't play CTF, so no.
I mean, every time I've been there, they've been helpful. Like, I'll be asking, like, how to do this, how do I get these macros, and everyone was always helpful. Obviously, I didn't get played in that draft league, but it seemed like Joe felt sorry about it. I don't know if he really is emo like that, or if he actually felt bad. But I deep down didn't really care. It was whatever.
Wait, why didn't you get played though? Were they being a-holes to you?
So he told me 100% you're playing the second game. He assumed they were going to win the first game. So once they lost that first game, I already knew they weren't going to play because they needed to win a game to get home field advantage. Yeah, I guess they took it too seriously for a draft league. They should have let me in. And to be honest, I'll say it right now, I think I am a better heavy than Chevelle and whoever else had playing Spark. I think I'm up there with Spark. Like, I don't know. Heavy seems really easy. You zoom in and you shoot at the freaking turrets. Like, I don't know. But all those guys been super helpful.
Just a quick add on that for context, because I know some of you guys don't play skirmish. Bax is talking about Joe, who's hollow on our squad, and he was like, I think, an unofficial co-captain of a squad in draft league. So this one instance isn't like representative of the Angelus crew or Des and Friends, as they call us. Joe was in a squad by himself. The rest of us weren't even in it. Whatever crazy interpolitical stuff they had nothing to do with us. Albert had his own squad competing against him. Hearth and I were sitting in spec, not even participating in the league. But to answer Bax's question before it becomes a mailbag for next week, Joe is that emo. It's just who he is. He felt terrible about it and tried to make it up to you.
It's all right. I'm a champion now, you know? I have more rings than Split.
Hey, you can't argue results, man.
In the last 20 years. You know, I have a ring, Split doesn't. It is what it is.
All right, Easoe, what questions you got, bud?
Give me a sec. So the first one I got is I'm not sure who convinced the new CTF squad that Yosh is a skilled player or capable leader, but they're in for a rude awakening. He couldn't even lead a stacked Sparta squad and even fake being sick. What does the panel think about Yosh now leading a CTF squad?
Ooh.
Damn, I got the same question.
I got the same question.
I will say Yosh was actually sick, and two, I wouldn't consider Sparta stacked. I think every squad last season was the top three were pretty evenly matched. So I don't know who wrote that, but Yosh is a very capable leader. It's when he has to really double down and micro every little thing, that's where the mistakes happen. That's where, he might get a little overwhelmed because he just doesn't have, like with macro data, he just doesn't have yet somebody who can help shot call and alleviate some of that pressure, right? I think Albert is a good person that will help him do that later on in the season. I think Angelus is on that path as well. But in what sense is in what history has Yo shown that he's been a bad leader? That's my real question, because if we're talking free infantry, never. SOE, maybe I'm bad company when we were fucking 14, 15. Other than that, he's a very capable leader.
Yeah, I've always considered Yosh like a decent leader, a more support leader these last few seasons. He's always been pretty consistent. Now I know he's not he doesn't open up any battles or anything like that, but he's usually in pretty good position. I think the advantage that Yosh is going to have with macro data is that these guys are new to the zone, so they're going to be coachable, and that's a huge difference for when you go leading a squad, let's just say, or helping lead a squad like Sparta, where you have a bunch of veteran players that have played for many years, many seasons, and it's hard to implement change. I think macrodata is going to welcome that change. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Angelus, in saying that.
No, I'll touch a little bit on it. As far as like who told these guys to go get Yosh, I don't know really. Like, I don't know Yosh that well. He's one of the guys also that came from skirmish into CTF, and I think I've helped him a couple times. Back on the topic of we're all pricks, so I get along with Yosh. I think he's got relationships with some of the skirmishers that were in my squad, and they have crossover relations with us from CTF, and they recommended like, hey, let's get Yosh to come help us out. But I'd also mention, like, on the week one cast, we don't come in here with aspirations to dominate and dethrone Sav or whoever's the champion or something. We're just trying to learn the zone. So having someone that's patient enough with us and also like strong enough on his knowledge of skirmish to go to battle with us, because one of you just mentioned like it's easier to manage a group of people who don't know the zone yet. We're just pups coming in trying to figure things out. Like I said, we are opinionated, and after 10 days of playing SBs every day, we're starting to battle with Yosh sometimes and challenging him on things because we don't understand them, or we right or wrong think there's a better way to do things. So I enjoy talking with Yosh. I think he's doing a fine job, and it's weird to get that question after this week when everyone said, "Wow, this is incredible that a brand new squad of CTFers kept up with cocaine." I mean, honestly, I can't take the credit for that. Yosh was leading us in game. He was micromanaging 6 of us, with Albert maybe the only one that didn't really need anything. But yeah, so credit to him. I think we're doing okay. I don't quite understand the question or the drama behind it. People offered before we got started, like, Angelus, do you just want to team up with Sav and have him turn you guys into a championship team? And I said, no, that's not fun for me. Like, we like the underdog challenge. So we're having a good time. I think Yosh is doing fine with us, as long as he can stay open to our opinions and we'll stay open to his and see where it takes us.
I will double back real quick. The infamous split of double back, if you will. What Abbott said in Spec Chat is correct. Yosh doesn't have to have you guys unlearn bad habits. And this is going back to the whole coachable thing. Like, if you're leading a bunch of vets, you're having to deal with people who think they know the game and are going to have their own ego and essentially question every single call. Now, I've been in plenty of your guys' VOD reviews, and every time RR questions something, I want to blow my brains out. But Yosh has been very patient with Yosh has been very patient from what I've heard, and he's leading you guys in the right direction. But that's all I got to say on it.
Really briefly, just to piggyback off what Angelus was saying, I think he just showed what he could do last week, and that's a squad that's brand new with brand new players to him. So,
I mean, I got an opinion on this too. I got the same question, and it's clearly a hater question. I'm not going to leak who said it, but with that being said, Yosh has the balls to go and lead a team, a new team, and you can't hate on him for that. I don't know how you can hate on him for that. He did what he did. Like, look what he did versus cocaine. He led great, and I don't know. It's just a dumb question. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Easoe, you got any more?
yeah, one more. 1 sec.
Okay.
Not sure why I'm getting all the CTF questions, but here we go. Do you think having a CTFer who barely knows shit about skirmish or the players on all the rosters to give commentary on matchups is a smart idea? Or does Eric want to give fellatio to Angelus word for word?
Honestly, I think it's nice to have a refreshing opinion, right? The last USL live seasons we've had, it's been me, Mecca, Romulox, Yosh. Essentially every single time, right? And with Rom stepping down, with Splitta voluntarily stepping down, because the last 2 seasons he's at least been pretty consistent, Mecca stepping down, it's nice to have somebody who is new to the zone kind of give their output or opinion, just because it's refreshing. And as the season goes on, he's going to have better and better opinions. So that's my take.
Yeah, kind of echoing what you're saying. I mean, I think it's fair, and it's almost like you said. You want to give the opportunity to a member from every squad, even though they're brand new. It's nice to have a like you said, a fresh voice, and also they're obviously better than what everyone thought. So yeah, it's a good change.
Yeah, I would say that I do agree with both of you to have an additional opinion, additional perspective on our matches and our league and whatnot, and to get some new players in, because honestly they've been helping keep pub alive. And the last few seasons, like Eric mentioned, it was like the same 3-4 people, and it got kind of repetitive. You kind of knew what the announcers were going to say, how USL Live was going to go, how everybody sided. So it's probably good to kind of switch it up maybe every season or two.
Yeah, and just to go back to it a little bit more, it's also a thing where, yes, he's a new player, but he's going to say or maybe ask questions that a bunch of new people that listen to USL Live might want to ask. And then he'll get the answer, and all of a sudden everybody has that information. So that's just my take.
Yeah. I'll mention that I was kind of asked to be on here. I wasn't like, hey, let me on this podcast. I didn't even know there was one. But we had similar crossover happen in CTF where when Yosh was new to CTF, Yosh came into some of the commentaries during one of the draft leagues, I think, and it was the best content we had for that exact reason Eric just said. He was asking these questions, which we were able to answer. And for the newer players in the zone, I think that went a long way as they're watching the matches and listening to saying like, oh, I'm a new player with that perspective too. It's good to hear that. So I'm hoping I can provide some of that to new folks if there are new folks trickling into the league. Maybe there's a couple. If I piss too many people off, sorry about it.
Nah,
It's not your first rodeo, from what I heard.
Yep.
Bax, what questions you got, bud?
Well, a lot of them were repeated, but I got a couple. Here's one. With all slobs complaining about people stacking and playing with friends for the past 20 seasons, should Slob apologize now that he's a bencher on a stacked team?
I wouldn't consider him benching. I would consider him sitting for a fellow squaddie.
Same thing.
Who
on the bench, right?
who would that squaddie be, Fausto? Who you got in mind?
I mean, Slav is a man of the people. He likes to troll and stuff. He's kind of like a darker version of Eric. He knows who he can get a rise out of, and it usually works. But Slav doesn't really care if he wins or loses. He just kind of likes to get on and kind of shit talk. I think he's kind of past all the glitz and glamour of a championship, and I'm always gonna have his back.
Yeah, I don't think Slav really cares about playtime. As somebody that's on the squad with him, I know he doesn't really care about playtime. I think he was just happy to be with his buds, dude. That's it. Josh says Slav begs to stay in spec, and that is true.
Dax, what do you got to say to that question?
Slobs, I feel like Slob hates me one day and likes me the next. Like, I don't really know him at all. I've never spoken to him. So I have no idea what kind of person he is. So, I mean, if he's complained about it, I don't really pay attention much to what he says, but I guess he's complained about it a lot. So now it is kind of weird that he's on a bench squad, but he's probably just shit talking half the time, like me. Like, I have no idea. I don't know what kind of person he is, so can't really comment on it. So I don't really know what kind of personality he has.
All right. What other questions you got?
All right, I got another one, and this 100% was not for me. It's gonna sound like it's for me. So no, seriously, it's not from me. It's gonna sound like I think I got set up, but whatever. I'll ask it. Where is it? Let me find it here. How was Bax able to put a squad together with under 48 hours and get people like Stavidine, who don't even know who Bax is, and players like Pandy and Mecca? How was he able to form this squad that quickly?
I think. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think pity is real. They felt bad for you.
Pity, really? That's bullshit.
I think.
No, let me finish it. No. In all honesty, I think as squad started to form, I think there was a lot of players that didn't have a home for whatever reason, right? They were just maybe taking a break or whatever. And I think you coming in, you've proven that you can captain a squad and not miss a match and show 7-8 players consistently is a good thing that a lot of people can't do nowadays. It's very hard to find a captain for a squad. Everybody can say that they can lead and do this and that, but it's hard to have a sustainable captain. So that's good that you had a few people follow you because it makes the shit more exciting.
I would definitely give credit to Mecca. Look, so Mecca started Revenge, right? So we had a few people on it. He had me one of the first people to join, and then Mecca had something come up, so he left the squad at Easoe. I think he wasn't allowed to give me the squad because I didn't agree to the bullshit rules Bone gave me at that point because I was on cocaine, and then got kicked. So I didn't want to lead a squad. I was on Mecca's squad. Easoe faded it. I said, screw it, I'll lead a squad. But I think people think I'm more hated than I am. The people who talk to me on voice know I'm not a dick like I am in chat. Like Kevin says, Macaron. People who are soft aren't gonna like me. People who like know who I am like me. Like, it's simple. I literally PM'd Stavinite and said, "Yo, you want to join me?" He said, "Sure." Like, why not? He didn't, that it was that simple. I literally just asked people, "Hey, you want to join?" And they said, "Sure." Like, I'm not hated like you guys think I am. And I'm not a bad player. Like, I put up numbers on horrible squads. How many people can do that? Not a lot of people can do that. I guarantee if shitty players like Kevin played on my squads, he would not have as many kills as I have. I don't care if it was because I was playing sniper and I was on the back. It doesn't matter. Ripper's the same thing, right? I could sit in the back of Ripper and not get hit by a single Marine bullet. So I just think I'm a better player than people think. And as soon as I got a couple good players, the rest just fell in line because they're like, okay, this is an actual squad. And now I literally think we're the second or third squad easily.
Yeah, I will say that I think just kind of what Bax was saying, but also what Fausto was saying. A bunch of people still wanted to play. They weren't able to get onto whatever squad they might have been trying to join. And once Bax got some legit people to join, like I think Sabo was one of the first recruits, all of a sudden they're like, okay, this is actually going to happen. So it all fell in line. So again, kudos to Bax for getting it together. Bax, how many more questions do you have that weren't repeated?
One last question.
Okay, go ahead.
Can I say something really quick?
Yeah.
I think Bax 100% wrote that just so we could talk about him at the end of the show. That's all.
I could show you sent me it.
All right, go ahead with the next question, though, Bax.
If everyone shows for cocaine, which one of those scrubs benches?
Well, we saw what happened against K-Dude. I think Danny and Leek both got sat for Ninja and Easoe. I think it's the same thing.
Pisser, you're pretty unloyal there. Leek and Samara have been SPing with how many weeks? And then you get Easoe, the scumbag who leaves squads every other week to join, and then you sit your guys for Easoe. Kind of weird, but that's Pisser. Pisser will do anything. I mean, good for him. Like, he put the better players in, but Pisser has zero loyalty. He's the biggest rat. So does Kev. That's why they get along well together. But yeah, that's all I gotta say about that.
Anybody else got anything on that one?
Hold on, Pisser. You didn't sit Sov last season. Sov wanted to play, and you just didn't have the balls to just screw someone over. And I don't know. You cost yourself a championship because you're an idiot.
Anybody else?
I think you're right, Eric. Yeah, I think you're right. I think they sat the players that they're going to sit, which is kind of unfortunate. So, Leek and Danny, please come home. Please come home. But
I already sent League of PM.
And so, it is what it is. At the end of the day, people log on to win, and Pister made the decision he made. I still think that, low-key, Bax and Pister and Kevin are like BFFs, and they just talk shit.
Nah, I blocked them on text. I don't talk to those herbs.
I call bull.
Yeah,
I literally do not talk to them.
Right.
Where's USL After Dark at?
Send me your T-Mobile bill. Come on.
Where's USL After Dark?
All right. Anyways, one last question I got last minute, and then we're done. So,
all right, go.
How much of this squad stacking nonsense occurred because a bunch of you grown men want to act like dickheads and make every squad absolutely intolerable? Perhaps if people like Pister, Bax, and SV weren't such intolerable twats, all the sane players wouldn't get to one team or go to one team. I mean,
birds flock together. What can you say? I mean, everybody. The shit talkers hang out with the shit talkers. The lifers hang out with the lifers, and the people that don't care hang out with the people that don't care. I mean, it's. I'm assuming that question came from Eva because it said grown men. And so yeah. I mean, I don't know. At the end of the day, I think people are gonna just log on and play with who they want to play with. I wish the talent was separated and dispersed more profoundly, but it isn't, and you got to get good. Like Bax says, you got to get good.
Yep. Easoe, Bax, Angelus, you guys got anything on that one?
No comment.
No, nothing.
All right. Well, that wraps it up for the Week 2 preview of USL Live Season 26. Thanks everybody for joining.